We're continuing to follow the election interference case with President Trump and his co-defendants that is now dropped in Fulton County. But we do know that Fulton County taxpayers could be on the hook for millions of dollars in legal fees spent on the 2020 election interference case against President Donald Trump and more than a dozen others. A new state law allows for reimbursement in cases where the prosecutor is disqualified for misconduct and charges are dismissed. 11 Live's Grace King joining us from the newsroom with more on this new law and the case. We're talking about Senate Bill 244 here. Grace, you've covered this case from the first indictment 2 years ago until now. Where does it go from here?
Well, now that all the criminal charges are dismissed, the criminal part of the case is over. But multiple attorneys tell 11 Alive they will be filing motions to recoup their legal fees. We went through campaign finance records to see how much that could cost. It's hard to quantify just how much the state v. Donald Trump has cost. How expensive would attorney's fees in a case like this be?
I can't even imagine.
The years-long legal battle reached every level of state court before Fulton County Judge Scott McAfee dismissed the whole thing. Emory law professor Kay Levine says those costs will add up, especially when you look at the lawyers tapped for this case.
My guess is that they are well compensated for the time and talent that they bring.
Campaign finance records show Save America paid more than $2.7 million in legal consulting fees to law firms helping President Donald Trump. One of their main recipients was Steve Sadow, who says he will be moving for attorney's fees and costs under Georgia code.
There was a lot of pretrial conversation. There were certainly some pretrial occasions where the judge called people into court. There were motions filed or briefs filed by the lawyers.
Those same databases show the Make America Great Again PAC spent another $3.7 million on legal consulting for defendants in the case and recount efforts. But ultimately, Judge Scott McAfee will have to decide what reasonable costs are and what's actually related to this prosecution.
In civil cases, when lawyers file claims for fees, they will submit a bill, but the judge doesn't necessarily give it to them. That does not give, like you can say, like, I spent 500 hours on this case, and the judge will say, like, well, that's all well and good, but you're going to get compensated for 100 hours.
Now, the law says that any reimbursement of legal fees would come from the Fulton County District Attorney's Office, which receives state, federal, and local funding. The proposed county budget for next year is $39.4 million, but these attorneys' fees, in theory, could equal a decent chunk of that.